Welcome to News9 and you are watching On Point. Today we have two On Points. On Point 1 is on the arrest of activist Sonam Wangchuk in the aftermath of the violence in Ladakh. On Point 2 is on the Trump-Shahbaz Munir tango at the Oval Office and its implication for India. And let's take a quick look at the headlines. Emir rips into NATO over false claim on Modi-Putin call, says statement baseless and factually incorrect. Tensions erupt in Uttar Pradesh's Bareilly with stone pelting and baton charge as Ayatollah Muhammad Rao escalates. Lashkar-e-Taiba sets up a new training camp in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, heightens threat to India. Indian delegation led by Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal held constructive meetings with officials in the US government, Ministry of Commerce and Industry says in a statement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi pays tribute to Dr. Manmohan Singh on his birth anniversary. Madras High Court issues notice to actor Vijay over TVK party flag over alleged copyright infringement. Navi Mumbai Airport to be inaugurated during PM Modi's visit on October 8th-9th. MiG-21 flies through Indian skies for the last time. Rajnath Singh terms it national pride. In a sensational development, Leh police arrested climate activist Sonam Wangchuk over the recent violence in Ladakh in which 4 people were killed. The arrest by a team led by DGP SD Singh Jambal came a day after the Ministry of Home Affairs cancelled the Foreign Contribution Regulations Act license of Wangchuk's organization, Student Educational Cultural Movement of Ladakh, over alleged violations.
मुझे वैसे भी ऐसे खबरें आती गई बहुत अच्छे सूत्रों से कि आपके खिलाफ पब्लिक सेफ्टी एक्ट का केस बनाया जा रहा है ताकि आपको 2 साल के लिए बिना जांच के, बिना बेल के जेल भेजा जा सके। तो आपको डर है कि अब आपकी गिरफ्तारी? बिल्कुल डर नहीं है, मैं बिल्कुल इंतजार कर रहा हूं, बल्कि मैं ये सोचता हूं कि न्योता देंगे पुलिस को कि आए आपको गिरफ्तार? बिल्कुल देंगे, क्यों नहीं देंगे। जब वो चाहें हमें गिरफ्तार कर सकता है। मैं सोचता हूं कि मेरे जेल में होना देश को ज्यादा जगाएगा मेरे बाहर होने से।
Earlier this week, demonstrators set fire to the BJP office in Leh, prompting police to fire tear gas and resort to baton charges as stones were hurled amid the shutdown. The government has blamed Wangchuk for inciting the violence in Leh through his provocative statements. According to the MHA, despite ongoing high-level talks, Wangchuk misled the people through provocative mention of Arab Spring-style protests and references to Gen Z protests in Nepal. The CBI has launched a probe into the alleged violations of the Foreign Contribution Act by institutions associated with Wangchuk. These include allegedly getting remittances of rupees 1.5 crore FCRA registration. Rupees 6.5 crore was allegedly diverted to Wangchuk's private firm. Wangchuk reportedly operates 9 personal bank accounts, 8 of which are undeclared. He has also been accused of getting rupees 4.9 lakh from foreign donors for studies on topics deemed against national interests. Apart from corruption charges, Wangchuk was criticized for breaking his fast and leaving for his village in an ambulance without making serious effort to control the situation during the violent protest. This is being seen as abandoning responsibility when his supporters needed leadership the most. Wangchuk has provided explanations for his allegations leveled against him. Wangchuk described the charge as part of a series of witch hunting against him. He claimed that the government was making him a scapegoat to avoid addressing the root cause of Ladakhi grievances. He denied getting foreign funds and claimed the money received was for the services rendered, not requiring FCRA clearances. Wangchuk denied the charge of inciting violence. He said that the violence in Leh stemmed from youth anger and resentment over long-drawn unemployment. He said he had appealed for peace once violence erupted. Sering Dore, co-chairman of the Leh apex body, said that the protests were led by the youth of Ladakh.
कुछ लोग क्यों कह रहे हैं, आप अपने हमारे एलजी साहब का नाम लीजिए ना, जो उन्होंने ये कहा कि इसमें फॉरेन हैंड है। तो मेरा ये कहना है कि अगर इसमें फॉरेन हैंड है, कुछ डोडा के लोग जख्मी हैं, कुछ नेपाली जख्मी है, तो क्या नेपाल से एक दो आदमी आके, डोडा से 3 लोग आके हमारे 5000 जवानों को भड़का सकते हैं 2-3 दिन में? ये हमारे यूथ का फ्रस्ट्रेशन था। कोई फॉरेन हैंड, कोई सोनम वांगचुक, कोई कांग्रेस वाला, इनका कोई, मैं इस बात को बिल्कुल नहीं मानता हूँ। ये हमारे यूथ का फ्रस्ट्रेशन था, उनके अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट का, और उसी का ये नतीजा था।
लद्दाख में जो हुआ बड़ा अनफॉर्चुनेट है। हमने परसों के दिन जब यहाँ पर प्रदर्शन था या बंद की काल थी, तो हमने सिर्फ यही कहा था, हमने अपने साथियों को ये जो पुलिस वाले हैं उनको लाठियां देके भेजा था। कोई इस प्रकार का माहौल नहीं था। लेकिन वहां धरने पर जाकर के उसके बाद उठना और बाद में जाकर के एकदम से जगह जगह पर आग लगाना, और ये भी था कि वो बहुत से ऐसे लोग ऑफिसर्स को आइडेंटिफाई उन्होंने किया था जिस पर कि अभी ये काम होने वाला था। इसलिए एहतियातन बड़ा जरूरी था कि इस प्रकार के जो मॉब को हम रोकते, क्योंकि इस मॉब के पीछे बहुत बड़ी साजिश थी, जो बहुत से लोग बाहर से भी थे, जो हमारे ध्यान में चीजें आई हैं। तो हम नहीं चाहते कि लद्दाख जो एक शांति वाला क्षेत्र है उसको इस प्रकार से माहौल क्रिएट किया जाए। कुछ लोगों ने सीआरपीएफ और पुलिस की गाड़ियों को जलाने का जो प्रयास किया है, उसमें अभी हमारे पुलिस के जवान भी बैठे थे। तो ये सिर्फ आत्मरक्षा के लिए सब कुछ किया गया, इससे बढ़कर जो भी करना पड़ा वो भी अनफॉर्चुनेट है।
Now let us understand the underlying reasons that were simmering and triggered the violence in Leh. The bifurcation of J&K created 2 union territories, Jammu and Kashmir with a legislature and Ladakh without one, placing Ladakh directly under central administration. Now, Jammu and Kashmir has held elections, they have a chief minister, they have an assembly, and they have a full civic governance in place, though different from the one which it had when Article 356 was in existence. Now in Ladakh, the demand has grown for inclusion under the 6th schedule. Wednesday's protests were held in support of the demand to advance the proposed talks with the centre, as I mentioned in the 6th schedule, as well as some were saying that statehood should also be part of the conversation. The other key demand includes separate public service commission for Ladakh, 2 separate Lok Sabha seats, 1 each for Leh and Kargil district. But going by the experience, the execution of 6th schedule is not easy. Even the cookies are demanding it, or they used to demand it in the early part of 23 and 24, and now they also want a separate state. There are areas in the country under 6th schedule because it gives you judicial power. There is also a 5th schedule where it doesn't give you judicial power, but then it requires complex interplay between the civil society, state, and keeping in mind that Ladakh is a frontier state, immense strategic location. So any decision on Ladakh will be far more complex. On this issue, I'm joined by Savio Rodriguez, founder and the editor-in-chief of Goa Chronicle, Mr. Stobdan, founding president of the Ladakh International Centre, Suhas Chakma, director in Rights and Risk Analysis Group, Professor Prasenjit Biswas, Professor of Philosophy from Northeastern Hill University. And let me frame it very neatly. Was it a popular protest or engineered violence? Is Sonam Wangchuk a patriot or a troublemaker? Were these demands genuine or a result of toolkit disturbance? And lastly, do we need to frame protests from the national security perspective? Let me take opening comments from Savio. Savio, Wangchuk arrested. Was it necessary?
Well, let's answer each question in the manner
we can
in
go
which
one
it
by
was
one.
asked.
The first question, and then I come back with the second question. Was it a popular protest or engineered violence?
Well, the protest for what the people of Ladakh were asking for is a protest that has been going on for several years. It is a protest that focused on the inclusion of Ladakh in the sixth schedule. It looked at issues of job creation as well as employment concerns that the people of Ladakh, especially the youth, were facing. It also looked at the aspect of statehood, which was somehow brought into their thought process and led to believe that the Indian government, at some point of time in conversations with them, had promised statehood. So the protests were around these aspects. Now, what happened on that day is where the entire situation goes completely unanswered and leaves a lot of questions to be asked, right? Whether the protest was engineered, I would believe that the people of Ladakh are very peaceful people, but something in the course of those few hours of that protest turned this situation from a peaceful protest to a very violent protest. Now, sadly, when the protest started to go aggressive and then violent, the person who called for this peaceful protest himself ran away, which is Sonam Wangchuk himself. Instead of staying there and going ahead and calming down the crowd, because they were there because of him. They were there because collectively he was the voice of the fight. So ideally, if there is an aggression or an assertion that is happening, or there is a violence taking place, then it was Sonam Wangchuk's responsibility to curb it. But that didn't happen. He chose to run away. He chose to put a message on social media that this is not what I intend as far as the protest is concerned.
Okay.
But one can look at it as an afterthought or a backup to say I had nothing to do with the instigation.
Okay.
The MHA believes he's an instigator in the entire violent protest that happened.
Okay. 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 So Stopdan, Mr. Stopdan, was it a popular protest or was it an engineered violence? And he has been arrested now. Was that required to ensure peace in the valley? Mr. Stopdan, am I audible to you? I think there's... Mr. Stopdan, the question is to you. I think there's a bit of an audio problem with him. Suhas, please take the question.
Very difficult to say, whether it's engineered or, spontaneous. I mean, it could be both ways. Usually when you have this kind of a protest, when the crowd goes out of control, anything can happen. And at the end of the day, it becomes a mob mentality. But it's also a fact that, the protest for some sort of stake in the governance, either through the sixth schedule or union territory or whatever, has been going on for a long time, and Sonam Wangchuk has been the voice for it. So it's not new in that sense. So I think it will be very premature because we are not there, and based on the television images, it's very difficult to draw conclusion as to whether it was engineered or it is in a way, or it was in a way very spontaneous. So I would say I think it's very difficult for us to draw some kind of conclusion. But I would say that whether the arrest of Sonam Wangchuk is necessary. I would say if you want to arrest him, if he has committed the offences, you arrest him for those charges, for those offences. When you put or when you arrest somebody on preventive detention charges, then one gets the impression that the Home Ministry or the people who are making the charges, they do not have the adequate evidence to support him with respect to other charges. But that does not in any manner take away the critical issues which the Ladakhis have been demanding. That's the sixth schedule, Autonomous District Council, basically direct say in the governance of the territories. So that I don't think you can postpone with or without, Sonam Wangchuk. So that would be my preliminary comments.
Mr. Sobden, am I audible to you, sir? Mr. Sobden, am I audible to you, sir? I think we still have an audio problem. Yes, I think there's a bit of an audio problem. Prasannaji, please, your opening comments. Could this have been avoided? Could Wangchuk should have taken more perfunctory measures to ensure that such violence did not take place in a state which is immense strategic and national value?
You see, I mean, there is which public movement or mass movement doesn't have a limited amount of violence. And violence always performs a kind of a symbolic act, to generate more response for the movement. So it should not be taken as a kind of a out of context form of violence. The political part of it, which is very important in terms of the pending demand and the pent up discontent towards the government, which didn't keep the word, have to be taken into account as the kind of a cause for any expression that has happened. It's unfortunate to see any kind of violence, and that really doesn't please anyone. It's utterly voyeuristic to experience violence, that too in a place like Ladakh. But for all that, a key figure who is actually like Gandhi of Ladakh, if I won't exaggerate him, Sonam Wangchuk, who has always given a message for peace and non-violence and never addressed people in terms of inciting them in any manner, is now under arrest. Now you see, central government has to take a more reasonable position. Preventive arrest doesn't really stop the kind of movement that is happening, and it may result into a further aggravation as well. Now, a strong arm tactic should not be applied in controlling this kind of a democratic movement. The movement is a democratic one, and it's happening in an extremely sensitive territory of India. And therefore, I think a more dialogical, more measured, more rational position should have been adopted instead of arresting and just containing people by force. So therefore, I think that, there is a fallacy here. A spontaneous protest can often be named as engineered, and an engineered protest can often be named as spontaneous. There is a kind of a fallacy of understanding here. We should come out of that fallacy.
Savio, is there a fallacy of understanding?
I think, Sonam Wangchuk's character is based on the movie The Three Idiots, and sometimes some people behave like idiots as well. Unfortunately, let me give you some data, Professor. The first aspect, on September 10th, Sonam Wangchuk spoke to a group of Gen Z people and a couple of people from Ladakh. The statements that he made at that point of time, if you hear it, you will understand that there was some level of inception of provocation done in a very subtle manner, which is typical to Sonam Wangchuk. Number two, a couple of months ago, not too long ago, Sonam Wangchuk made a statement. The statement goes as this. He clearly stated that there was a time when infiltrators from China were coming into India, and therefore the people of Ladakh, which is the truth, defended India and did not allow for the Chinese infiltrators to come in. But in the second aspect of that same conversation of his, he went on to say, but this time, if the Chinese infiltrators come into India, we will ensure that we allow them to walk into India. This is your Sonam Wangchuk, right? So let me give you a little bit more data that you want to know. Why did Sonam Wangchuk run away when the responsibility of that particular protest was his? Are you saying at this point of time, sir, 4 people are dead, 80 people are injured? The man who called for that protest is not supposed to take the responsibility to ensure that people have not gone violent. He runs away from that. Is that what you're saying? You're saying that every other protest that happens, violence is sometimes an extension of that. How many protests have you seen in India where there has been violence that has been turned around, where they go and burn infrastructure of buildings in India? When does that happen, sir?
Okay, Mr. Stobden, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes.
Sir, your opening comments, was this protest spontaneous or was it engineered? Were outsiders involved? Does it have a foreign hand? First, your opening comments, sir. Finally, we have you in our conversation.
Well, it's very difficult to answer your question, whether somebody engineered or was it spontaneous. But yes, I think Sonam Wangchuk is not responsible because he never took responsibility. He was an unaccounted person. He is not a leader of Ladakh. He is not even MP or MLA. He is just an activist. So how can I blame him? If the people are following him, that's his power. But he doesn't have a certain amount of, that he's not answerable at all. He doesn't fight elections. So the problem is, today you ask him whether he is responsible or not. He never took a responsibility. So how can somebody blame him? If the government has allowed him to sit there on Dharna, that's government fault. They should have 139 section placed at that spot, or 144. But the government allowed that thing to happen and things went out of control. Obviously, blaming him alone is not the solution. There are other elements also which we cannot discuss. You may say whatever you want to say, whether foreign or internal or whatever you want to say, but my only contention is, we still have time to address the situation. It's not late. The point is that nobody is making an effort. Sonam Wangchuk, just keep him aside. But there is a problem. There is a communication gap between this region and the central government. We don't have representation anywhere. There is an MP from Kargil, but he is voiceless. I don't know what he does in Delhi. But you are from Delhi. Whether you have seen any Ladakhi in Delhi? Have you seen Ladakhi faces in the government, in the bureaucracy, in the political circle? No. In corporates, nothing. We're just blank. So the issue is that when you have marginalized this region so much, and you have a lot of people coming from outside to run this place, surely it was desirable in the beginning to start the UT process. But it's been 6 years now. By now, I think UT should be fully functional. You have governors, you just saw him, he's from Jammu. You have other bureaucrats who was coming from, I don't know, other parts of the country. That's okay. But the point is, there is not even an advisor. There is not even a senior people who would be consulted. So, it is just, there is a vacuum here which has not been fulfilled. I do not wish to discuss individual cases. Now, Mr. Wangchuk has been placed under so many acts. That's his problem. That's the process of law will take its own course. I don't know about law. What really happened yesterday or day before yesterday when the investigative agencies have recovered or unrecovered. But the point here is that those will keep on happening. The issue is to address the
Mr. Stoblin, why do you say that there is a political? Why do you say, sir, there is political vacuum in Ladakh?
Yeah, you tell me, you have seen any political person there in Delhi? Oh, okay, government is talking to agitators.
I'll come to you, Savi. I'll come to you. Let me just complete. I've got him with great difficulty.
No. Have you seen government is talking to anybody? Are they reaching out to people? Are they engaging anyone? Barring some agitators like Mr. Wangchuk or somebody else, I don't know who goes to Delhi to talk to the to Home Ministry. The issue is that if you are talking to some individual, it's not going to happen. When you see all these mobs here today, all those pictures that you are showing attacking, there are equally large number of people who are not part of this. Now, you mean to say they are not relevant?
I would say. Okay. No. They're relevant. They're relevant. Suhas, first to you.
Just reiterating the same point. You keep the violence aside. That's one aspect, because the situation has gone out for whatever the reason. But the fact remains, I think we have to keep in mind that when people talk about sixth schedule, what is sixth schedule? Sixth schedule is considered a state within a state with executive, legislative and judicial power. So that's what they are seeking. And if you do not, in a way, create some kind of an arrangement where Ladakhis or the people of Ladakh would, be part of the decision making, part of the governance, that they should be running the government of the day, whether it's union territory, sixth schedule or whatever. You create a system where you basically replaced one set of bureaucrats with another set of bureaucrats. Because before the creation or the division of Jammu and Kashmir, if you look at it, then it used to be controlled from Srinagar. So basically, once you have divided Ladakh as a separate administrative region, you created the aspiration. So once you create that aspiration, then of course, people want to see that they are part of it. So that's why I think the key point is there is no advisor. Even if there is an advisor, I think people will still question you are selecting your own people. Somewhere, whether it's UT, 6th schedule or whatever, you have to give the opportunity for direct participation of the people to elect their own representatives. If it doesn't happen, this problem will continue. And that's what I think, I think we have to take cognizance of that. At territory like, Ladakh, there are people who would like to nominate their own representatives, and that is not happening.
Okay. Now, Savio, you wanted to come in.
So I wanted to make 2 points.
Okay.
Both the gentlemen who have spoken before me have made the genuine problem of what Ladakh is facing.
Okay. So
That
we
is
agree on
exactly what Ladakh is facing.
so we agree on one thing, that there is an issue out there.
Of course there is.
Okay.
But violence is not the way to solve
Absolutely,
the issue.
there is no. I'm interested. There is no difference on that.
The people of Ladakh want representation. The people of Ladakh, the youth want jobs. The people of Ladakh are looking at certain amount of inclusion with the center. Unfortunately, what I've found going wrong with them over the last 2 days with this protest is that their anger has been turned towards not looking for a solution, but to find a vent to that frustration. And that vent to a frustration is what the government is looking at. Why did people, the Ladakhis, known to be very peaceful, suddenly turn violent? That level of frustration, no matter how much can be heard from both these speakers, is not going to transcend into violence. Okay. Because there are a lot of people that want to dialogue.
Can I interject
and
you?
That is what they are saying.
Savio, can I interject you? Why do we need to frame civil society protests from a national security perspective? Let me be the devil's advocate here.
Precisely. See, please understand. Okay, firstly, the preemptive supposed arrest, it's not preemptive. Sonam Wangchuk has been slapped with the NSA, which is a serious question raised on what he was doing as far as his protest is concerned. Now, let's come to the real issue. Keeping Sonam Wangchuk aside, the government will deal with it, the NSA will deal with it, the law will deal with it. The people of Ladakh have got concerns. The people of Ladakh and the central government have been talking about it. Yes, there is a disappointment that the process is taking a long time. But what I do understand is that the center, because of the complication of the 6th schedule, owing to the fact that it requires a certain level of a constitutional amendment that brings about that push as far as Ladakh is concerned, I think that's where they have not been able to really come together and put it together. But I believe that confidence in people should not go. If you take the violent route, if you start attacking the CRPF, who are supposed to be there to protect you, you aren't solving your problem.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Shabdan, then what sort of governance are the people of Ladakh? I'll come to you, Swaz. What is the form of governance which people of Ladakh are looking forward to? Is it the 6th schedule they are looking forward to? Is it under the 5th schedule they are looking forward to, sir? Are they looking at a assembly and a chief minister? What is the ground feedback you have, sir? Because you are in Ladakh.
Now, personally, I'm not interested in pushing this case of 6th schedule, because it's not just a political and constitutional issue.
Okay.
It's an anthropological issue.
Okay,
we are not tribes. We are Buddhist. There's a huge gap between being a Buddhist and being a tribe. Tribe is something else. We are not aboriginal people. So the problem is there's a larger issue of anthropology here. If you want to give just to appease us, that's all right, because we have been given scheduled tribe in the thick of militancy in Kashmir so that we don't join the Kashmiri movement. So those kind of political arrangement is possible. But 6th schedule per se, to me, I am a scientist, I am an anthropologist, I am a political analyst. I understand all these issues. you cannot measure everybody in the same basket. So for me, a Buddhist identity is more important than being a person from a Sikh scheduled area. That's regression. That's not possible. The arrangement that one can think of, I think, is something like 5th schedule, something like 371. Otherwise, the argument which the center is giving is that you have just come out of 370. And what is the difference between 370 and 6th schedule? Because both of them get protection to, whatever constitutional protection. But since you wanted to get out of 370, now you want to go back to 6th schedule. The quantum of autonomy is same under 370 and 6th schedule. More or less is the same thing, self-governance.
Except judicial powers.
Yeah, the same. So it's a fallacy. It's a contradiction that we struggled for 50 years to get out of Kashmir, out of 370, which gave us a lot of protection. But then, having come out of that, either we should have thought about this 6th schedule implication or whatever. UT came without legislation. Only solution is that okay, UT arrangement is fine, but you can have a legislation there. Arrangement to make their own local policies, autonomy to frame their affairs. So those kind of arrangement is possible, but not doing anything is a problem. Okay. My own personal take is that I would like to have, because Ladakh is the only territorial region which has a Buddhist population. There is no other area in India, and also there is a Muslim. I have not heard Muslims will be given 6th schedule.
Okay,
I don't know.
I think that's a very unique and a strong perspective. Suhas?
The way Mr. Sobdan has put the whole idea of definition of tribal is really derogatory. I mean, let me say it very clearly. Just because you are defined as a scheduled tribe doesn't mean that you are inferior to other people. Just because some people are Buddhists and they become or they fall under 6th schedule, their status is lowered constitutionally, legally. That's the defect. The fact is, if you want something under 5th schedule, what is 5th schedule? 5th schedule are the tribal areas which are governed by the governor through an advisory council, tribes advisory council. In the 6th schedule, it's the autonomous district council elected by the people who runs it. I mean, if you talk about autonomy or, some kind of arrangement like a union territory, that's completely different idea. 6th schedule does not come out of any article in the Constitution of India. It's a separate appendix. It's a state within a state. It's a separate constitution. And 5th schedule is completely different schedule. So there is no difference between.
Okay.
See, I mean, 5th schedule was the partially excluded areas during the British period. 6th schedule was the fully excluded areas under the 1995 Government of India Act. So I think we have to say that, today, let's look at Manipur. Bit out of context. Manipuris who have not been defined as a scheduled tribe, they have been fighting back to claim as scheduled tribes because they are scheduled tribes. So just because you are scheduled tribes, does not take away your other rights, whether you want to claim as a state or, whatever you want to claim. So I think we have to get also our concepts absolutely clear.
Okay. Prasanajit, you wanted to comment?
Yes, on the question of tribals, because there are Ladakhi people who are primarily identifying themselves as tribes: Rokpa, Drokpa, Dad, Sinu tribe, Sina people, Bot people, Changpa people, Gara people, Mon people, Purigapa people, and there are many such tribes in Ladakhi population. Now, each of the tribe has a distinct cultural identity, and they should have their own political institutions where they have their representation. Now, if we do not have a sufficiently broad democratic conception of administration of Ladakh, we end up in a fiasco. And the fiasco is currently just started. By arresting Sonam Wangchuk, a situation of void has been created, and that void might result into a further escalation or whatever. Even if there is a calm, that calm doesn't mean a natural calm. So therefore, one has to be extremely careful in
I'm sorry,
people and their aspirations and their demands. That care has not been shown. Dragging away somebody by NSA by using laws in a manner which is coercive is something that doesn't work, at least in 20
I'm sorry.
So therefore, Dr. Sebio, please hold on. I have not disturbed you. So the point here is that the movement, the way it is going, one has to look at the movement. And the voices within the movement needs to be respected. Sonam Wangchuk was one voice. There are other voices in the movement. The government has to really enter into a dialogue and has to find out a middle path, a good solution, so that everybody is happy back into a normal order. Currently, that is missing, and that's a big concern for the entire nation.
Okay. A very quick comment, Savio, and then to Mr. Stobden. A very quick comment, Savio.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the government has been talking to the people in Ladakh. May not have been as effective, but the exercise is in progress. We have an October 6th meeting as well. But to say that the reason for what has happened is the arrest of the Sonam Wangchuk will get worse. Dr. Prasanji, let me tell you something very clearly. This country knows how to deal with people who want to turn situations worse. That's why there is a law. So let the law take its course. The MHA has got its own substance as far as its NSA that they put on Sonam Wangchuk.
Okay.
There's no need for you to defend him.
Okay. Mr. Stobden?
Well, I was making a personal comment, which I said in the beginning. I'm not making it this is not the thinking of common people here. They really don't know what is Sikh schedule. They really don't know Sikh schedule. I know because I have been an ambassador. To be an ambassador, you need to know the constitution. So I know a little bit. I'm not that naive not to understand what is Northeast and what is Ladakh, what is Kashmir. The point is that today somebody told me we need to become Northeast through the Sikh schedule. Sikh schedule is the route through which you can keep the Indians out of India.
Who said that?
That's the only.
The
only clause. Huh?
Who said that?
Now somebody commented on me. This is the only clause which can keep the Indians out of India. So means that I cannot go to Northeast. Okay, I cannot go to Bodoland, which means Bodos will do whatever they want to do in Bodoland. So that I understand. No, the issue is.
This is the most contentious conversations that I have had on the 5th and 6th schedule. I really have to admit, I never thought, this is the, I have such a contentious, heated debate on a very tough academic subject. People get bored, but after so many months, I've had such a heated debate on, really academic issues. I'm happy that, people, you, all four of you have spoken so strongly because, that's where the conversation generally lack when it comes to system and stuff. But I've really run short of time. But actually, one thing which I would definitely like to say is that there was a lot of concern about, why people are saying about Gen Z. I personally believe that Indian Union is very strong. Whether you use word Gen Z, youth, it really doesn't make a difference. We are strong enough to absorb a lot of dissent. Law has to take its own course. People who have perpetrated violence have been brought to the book. But I think what is important is that attention should be paid to the sentiments of the common Ladakhis. And they must be, and their sentiments must be respected, and they must be heard. And I think on this, all of us agree that their sentiments must be heard and their sentiments must be respected because the country belongs to everyone. And thank you all of you. And on this note, I say that it's time for the second on point, but it will be after a break. And in that second on point, we are going to talk about Trump-Pune Sharif tango at the Oval Office and its implication in policy challenge for India.
सर वाटर प्रूफिंग के लिए बेस्ट
वेंकी जी एक छोटा सा गिफ्ट बिरला ओपस अश्योरेंस देने के लिए।
ऐसा क्या है इसमें? 1
साल में वाटर प्रूफिंग को कुछ भी हुआ तो वापस करके देंगे वो भी फ्री। पेंटिंग में पहली बार बिरला ओपस अश्योरेंस। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
Elegant styling meets adrenaline pumping performance. Drive a world of sporty sophistication with the all-electric VF7 from VinFast. India price starting at rupees 20.89 lakhs.
What are you watching that? Don't you often say, think before investing in the stock market? So I'm trying to gain some knowledge.
From whom?
That's this stocks expert. Makes great educational videos. Gives good investment tips too.
Dad, don't rely on such videos. Do your own research or contact a SEBI registered investment advisor. In the name of education, some influencers often misguide investors. You'll have to bear the losses.
An investor awareness initiative by SEBI.
Java 42, the answer.
You wanna dance? I make you wanna move. I got the joy.
स्पेशल पार्टनर लायरा वुमेन्स वेयर, लेगिंग्स वो जो लायरा हो। फिलिप्स, सोने पे सुहागा। पोलो एलिवेटर्स, स्मार्ट भारत की स्मार्ट लिफ्ट।
Breaking news. Major disruption is expected this week.